Recording in progress. We will go ahead and get this meeting started. So I'll call the meeting of the Lewiston Planning and Zoning Commission for our regular meeting for February 26, 2025 to order. That's a mouthful. So first agenda item is a call to order. So meeting is called to order. Number 2 on our agenda, we have citizens comment. So this is an opportunity for citizens to address the commission with comments and or questions about planning and zoning commission related matters that are not related to a public hearing that we have on the agenda tonight. So I don't see any commenters in the gallery. Did we have anything emailed in, phoned in? All right, well, it makes that pretty easy. So number 3, we will move on to our active agenda. So approval of the February 12th, 2025 meeting minutes. I will abstain from this because I was not there, so.
I will also abstain.
Look at y'all. Mr. Chair, I will make a motion to go ahead and approve the February 12th, 2025 meeting minutes as presented.
It's been motioned.
Happy to second.
Perfect. It's been motioned and seconded. All approve or all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Those who are abstaining?
Me.
Ayes have it. All right, moving on to item B on our active agenda, we have a discussion of the preliminary plat for the North Lewiston Business Park. So with that, I'll let staff take it away with the presentation.
I steal it to share the screen.
Sure.
Good evening, commissioners. Mark Wiggand, I'm the city surveyor. I will be presenting the staff report for the North Lewiston Business Park preliminary plat. And so we'll start off here with our GIS view, and this is the North Lewiston Business Park preliminary plat, and it proposes to subdivide approximately 10.21 acres of property in North Lewiston into 4 lots, and then it'll be in 3 phases as proposed. On the aerial view, you can see that the location of the proposed subdivision is located just south of 7th Avenue North, which on the map would be right here. And it's in the middle of the block between 24th Street North and 28th Street North. So 24th is over here. 28th is over here. And the rest of the city, we've got some other streets between those, but in this area, it's just a lot larger.
Going on vacation? Oh yeah, road trip. Okay, all right, stay right there.
And just for a little bit more reference, this area right in here is where the Idaho Transportation Department has all their facilities, their office and all of their yards and everything. And then this would be the Idaho State Police facility out there in North Lewiston. This is the bottom of the Lewiston grade, so that the on-ramp and off-ramp to get up and down the hill. And then obviously down here on the south side, we have the Clearwater River. So this aerial photo is a bit dated. As you can see, the site at this point on this map looks like it's completely vacant, but right now, actually in this lot 1, there is actually a motor freight transfer facility that has already been constructed there. And we will see that on the site photos as I advance. So. So here's our first site photo, and this one is taken from the north side of 7th Avenue North, and it is near the northwest corner of the proposed development. It looks south and slightly east, and the fence along the right-hand side of the photo runs right along the west edge of the proposed development. Large blue building here, and the parking lot that's filled with trucks and trailers over here is that new motor freight transfer facility that I just mentioned. The vacant area in the center of the photo is the area proposed for additional lots in the later phases of the development. As you can see, the area is quite open, and the majority of the property slopes gently to the south.
Thanks, Don.
Our next The next photo is also taken from the north side of Seventh Avenue North, but it's near the northeast corner of the development. The photo is looking southwesterly, a little bit further over to the west than south in this case. And once again, the center of and it's looking towards the center of the proposed subdivision, basically. And then once again shows the owner's new motor freight transfer facility here, that big blue building, and then of course the parking lots around it. And then obviously the rest of the remaining development is over here to the right. Behind that, it's gonna be interesting. So this is the preliminary plat. And on the preliminary plat, we can see the proposed layout of the future lots and the existing improvements of the motor freight transfer facility. And those new improvements are right in here. As I mentioned earlier, the applicant is proposing that the final plats and associated improvements be submitted in 3 phases. Phase 1 will separate lot 1 with the existing improvements from the rest of the developable property. So this is phase 1 would be just literally this one lot. Then the next phase would be just lot 2 in the second phase, which is over here, this other, what kind of looks like a flag lot here. And then the next phase after that would create lots 3 and 4 in the final phase. So these 2 in the center. The proposed lot layout shows 2 of the lots in what we would generally call standard configurations, or having the wide frontage, and the 2 remaining as flag lots. But due to the M2 zoning for the property, which does not actually have minimum lot widths or lot depth requirements, the only standard that the lot configurations actually need to meet is the 20 feet of frontage along an improved public street. And that one is actually part of the street access requirements contained in the zoning code under section 37-123-3, and all of the lots do meet that minimum 20. So they each have either these flagpole driveways essentially, or the frontage. And the lots then do meet the rest of the requirements for the M2 zone, the applicable M2 zone that they're in. As for utilities, water and sewer service in this neighborhood are provided by the city of Lewiston. But since the property slopes south, as we were talking about, so it slopes south away from 7th Avenue North, the sewer line that services the existing motor freight transfer facility flows west out of the property to the existing sewer main located at 24th Street North. And basically what that then means is this facility runs into a pipe that runs right across the center of the subdivision and right out across this other private property to the sewer main out here. And they did that because if you were trying to run uphill, they would have to pump up to the sewer lines that are in this street. At the time that was created, that line was put in, they had a private sewer easement, and it was originally negotiated with that adjacent owner to allow that sewer pipe to serve as just a private service line. The owner recently obtained a public sewer easement for this location that will allow the sewer line to serve as a public sewer main servicing all of the lots in the proposed subdivision. And that basically, in order for it to be a public main, it has to be in a public utility easement. We don't allow public mains in private easements, and so that's why that had to be done. The Vista Utilities, CenturyLink Lumen, and Sparklight have also confirmed their intent to provide utility service for the proposed subdivision. So now we can also see then this plat basically is pretty simple, straightforward. The one issue we did, this is a preliminary plat, and it was presented at a scale of 60 feet to the inch when printed at full scale, which you can see the scale over here. And that does differ from the 100 feet to the inch standard specified in section 3220A of the subdivision code. Because the 60:1 scale provides for better clarity of lines, bearings, and dimensions as specified in Title 50, 1304.1 of Idaho Code, City staff recommends that the 60-to-1 scale be accepted as exceeding the code requirement of the specified 100-to-1 scale. With the exception of that noted difference in the scale, the preliminary plat complies with the applicable requirements of the City of Lewiston subdivision ordinance, which is City Code Chapter 32. And city staff recommends that the Lewiston Planning and Zoning Commission recommend to the Lewiston City Council approval of the preliminary plat of the North Lewiston Business Park as presented. And I have included a draft reason statement with the packet, which incorporates information contained in this staff report for your consideration. And as always, you are free to use or modify the language in that report at your discretion. This concludes my staff report, and I'm available for any questions if you have it.
Go for it.
Mr. Chair, I notice on the bottom of the proposed plat map with the existing business that there is mention of the stormwater infiltration system.
Correct.
Will that be carried over to the additional flag lot? Because I'm assuming that stormwater will be taken care of at the south end of the entirety of the property.
Yeah, most likely. And what that is because of how the city stormwater ordinance works, anything that is generated on a private property is then taken care of on the private property. So that one is one that was specifically designed in consideration of all of their parking lots and the large building facility. Anything that is placed on these other lots will have to account for that, but it will be designed based on what they're proposing. So
Okay.
if they have less impermeable surface, they'll require a lot less, of the facilities to take care of it.
Okay.
So it will work in conjunction with whatever they are specifically proposing.
Any other questions, commissioners? See any? All right, well, with that, commissioners, I will take a motion to approve the reason statement, modify the reason statement, deny the reason statement.
I don't know if Kathy had anything.
Oh, sorry, Kathy, I forgot. Sorry.
I'm good. I would move that we accept the reason statement as presented. I've read through it and it looks good to me.
Not have to go through it.
Okay.
I would second that motion. I think it is very well written.
All right, it's been motioned and seconded that we approve the reason statement presented by city staff as presented to approve the preliminary plat for the North Lewiston Business Park. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? None? All right, well, motion carries. All right, that takes us through item B on our active agenda. So item C that we have is initiation of zoning code amendment ZA-01-25 landscaping. And with that, I will let city staff take it away.
Good evening, Commissioners. Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner. So this is another code amendment that has come out of that comprehensive plan work group committee that was formed. So a number of you are on that. We have counselors on it. For this particular amendment, landscaping code amendments, Joel Plaskett, the city planner, solicited the participation of several landscaping companies. They met twice and reviewed the existing code, made suggestions, kind of walked through all the different pieces. We also had the chairperson from the city's Urban Forestry and Cemetery Commission come to provide input. The Urban Forestry Group has a tree selection guide that gets frequently used by landscaping contractors. And I believe there are references in this landscaping code to that guide. So lots of discussion from the people who are actually out in the field doing this kind of work when installing landscaping in new parking lots or rebuilds of parking lots. And so what is coming in front of you tonight is a request for initiation to make these amendments. So a copy of the amendments was included in your packet. You'll notice there's a lot of removal of items. That was one of the suggestions from the landscaping contractors, was that there were things that just did not need to be in there. There were some suggestions from them, like increasing the size of certain planter beds so that they are actually large enough to accommodate for tree growth. A lot of discussion was around tree growth, species of trees, what trees are appropriate and what size of bed, that kind of stuff. And I believe some of those landscaping contractors will be working with the Urban Forestry Group to rewrite a portion of that tree selection guide to kind of reflect the different standards that different types of trees need. So that's kind of the basic overview. I would invite your committee members to provide any feedback from attending those meetings.
You have anything?
I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. I thought the feedback that we got from the folks who are actually doing the work on the ground was really insightful. And I think that, you know, of course, me being the way I am, I think less regulation on stuff like that, you know, the better. And I think really making it to where, you know, we're still meeting the parameters of shading parking lots and things like that, which helps keep temperatures down. But also making sure that we're changing things around so what they're planting actually survives is what this does. So.
Yeah, just to add to what Maureen said, it's just a simplification of city code, just clarifying roles, bringing in the experts, as Katie said, that are already doing the work. Trying to reduce regulations in terms of who does what, who has responsibility to do what. And also just preventing giant parking lots. They're basically just heat sinks. So, which unfortunately we have some of those in Lewiston, so.
And it was actually, to me, it was interesting to hear because several of the folks that we dealt with deal with other communities, outlying communities. And I thought it was interesting to find out that our spacing and things like that are actually more conducive to the plants thriving and growing than what a lot of people are doing. So good to get the feedback from them.
So just to clarify, the landscaping people that made the suggestions, they've seen what is here?
Yeah, they actually were sitting in on the meetings.
No, I know, but I mean, after everything was done,
Yeah.
they've seen
Yeah.
like this final
Yes.
product.
Yeah.
for-
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
so
they're-
an original meeting was held where the existing code was sent out to them and they asked basic feedback. We had a meeting and they discussed everything, offered suggestions. Joel made another draft.
Yeah.
Sent that out again, asked for additional feedback. Additional feedback was provided, and then this draft went in front of that group to make sure that he had kind of encapsulated everything that had been suggested, things that they wanted to be removed, things they wanted added, that all of that had been incorporated. And that's what is in front of you guys tonight.
Thank you.
Questions? Concerns?
If I may, just for clarity, in the comprehensive plan, what part of the comprehensive plan was addressing parking lots and heat sinks and like, how did this become is this one of the bullet points that is within easy reach, or is it just rewriting? Like, what sparked this focus?
Parking lot code.
It was just parking lot code. and it
Because
was-
parking code came from that whole idea of being able to redevelop
Okay,
buildings and, you know, that being something that has
specific to commercial. back to
has
the
been something
ability
that has
to-
come in front of staff and the community development
Gotcha.
department saying that that is a deterrent, right?
Okay,
We're requiring too much parking, et cetera, and then all the other expenses that go with having to provide a parking lot like the landscaping.
okay.
So the
Thank you.
parking lot code came first, and during those discussions, the committee was
came up.
like, what about the landscaping? And so that was the next step. And that's when Joel wanted to invite landscaping contractors to come in because I don't plant trees in the right of way. Joel doesn't plant trees in the right of way, you know?
Yeah.
You want the people who are doing that work and working with those companies and commercial establishments that are coming in and having to provide those things to be like, how does this actually work? And so this was just a next.
Excellent, excellent, thank you.
It is, so I believe this has been, well, it is in our Google Drive, but it is, so the implementation plan for 2024-2025 for the new comprehensive plan, Joel does identify the action, the items that it's related to in there. So Katie did a much better job than I could verbally, but Joel pretty much lays out in the parking lot code amendments what it ties to within the comprehensive
Yeah,
plan.
each of the objectives, each of the,
Thank you.
um,
In my head,
Whatever
I
the
was
objective.
going back to the conversations we had about what can we do that has some low hanging fruit, I think is what it was
Yes,
called.
yeah,
Well,
yes.
and part of what we're trying to do, part of what we really identified as wanting to implement, like you said, low hanging fruit, were things that would spark business growth and opportunities to take,
Yeah.
existing businesses, or existing commercial properties and make them more open to other options and alternatives. And that just kind of, this is just kind of cleaning up all the subsidiary stuff that goes along with those goals.
If I could ask a question, just for, and it might just be a wording thing. So are we specifically talking about just parking lots?
that's where landscaping is called out, yes. This is,
Because it had mentioned, so A, it says landscaping requirements be integral part of all site and parking lot development and redevelopment.
yeah, so the site means your on-site parking, so your off-street parking, which is your parking lot. Yeah, we don't have landscaping requirements other than those tied to a parking lot. Or if they're specifically called out in a planned unit development agreement. Any other questions?
Andy? All right, commissioners, well, with that, I take a motion to initiate, not initiate.
I will make a motion to initiate the zoning code amendment to amend the section 37-153 as recommended.
Perfect. Is there a second?
Second.
Perfect. It's been motioned and seconded to initiate zoning code amendments to amend Lewiston zoning code for section 37-153. All in favor, say aye.
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 All right, ayes have it. I don't think we have any opposed. All right, commissioners, on our action item for item D, we will have a public hearing and subsequent deliberation and direction to staff regarding the reason statement for the conditional use permit for CUP 25-1 by the Lewis Clark Early Childhood Program. So before I open the public hearing, I'll just explain the process real quick. The subject of, the public hearing subject will be announced. We'll open the public hearing. We'll hear staff presentation. Then after the staff presentation and commissioners have had a chance to ask any questions, we will hear the applicant's testimony or presentation if they have any or would like to. After that, we'll hear testimony from the public. After the testimony from the public, if there's any negative or the applicant would like to rebut or provide any additional feedback, the applicant is allowed to do that. Commissioners, you're allowed to ask questions of the applicant or city staff as well. And then at that time, we will close the public hearing. So additional questions are not allowed after the closing of the public hearing. And then we will deliberate and discuss the relevant criteria and standards and articulate detailed reasons for the proposed decision. So we have a handy dandy cheat sheet that city staff was kind enough to provide us. So with that, I will go ahead and open the public hearing.
Commissioners, Katie Hollingshead, Assistant Planner. Okay, so in front of you today is conditional use permit CUP 25-1. This is an application from the Lewis Clark Early Childhood Program to operate a preschool out of the Boys and Girls Club clubhouse at 1021 Pearl Avenue. So like usual, we will go through some maps, we will go through some photos. So preschools are, so the property is located in our R2A zone. Preschools are permitted as a conditional use in this zone, and they are subject to special conditions, which are included in my staff report. So first up is a map of our property. So Boys and Girls Club is located on an approximately 4.6 acre property located at 1021 Burrell Ave. That's this big bad boy right here in the center. You can see clubhouse, existing parking lot that has 119 parking stalls. We have a large field area that's normally used for soccer games. They have basketball courts. They have a playground over here. Surrounding area is a mix of churches. There's a church on either side of them. So there's one church right here. There is one church right here on the west side. Multifamily, so there's a section of multifamily over here, a section of multifamily over here, multifamily right here, and then single family dwelling. So single family up here in the corner. And you can't see across Airway, which is at the very top or northern end of the property, but there's single family across on the north end of Airway, and then a single family across on the south end of Burl. So then same map, just with our zoning layer put on it. So like I said, property is located in the R2A low density residential zone, which is this green color. Located just to the east is our R3 medium density residential. So that's over here. That's why all these multifamilies are hanging out over here. And then site photos. So this is a photo of the existing clubhouse. Like I said, parking lot has 119 existing stalls. You can see their beautiful trees. Very nice planting strips. This is looking west down Burl. So this is one of the churches, it's right here. This is Calvary Chapel. There's a multifamily development right here. You can see some townhomes there. Calvary Chapel, directly adjacent on the west side of the property. And then I'm just gonna kind of pivot all the way around. So, this is south across Burl, straight across from where Calvary Chapel is. And this is a long-term care facility. It's currently called Orchards View Post-Acute Care. It's been called several other things, but that's what it's currently called. So long-term care facility, and you can see single-family dwellings. Also on that south side of Burl, or single-family dwellings going down the other side. So I'm looking east now. Continue to pivot. Blessed Hope Assembly of God is the other church, and there is one more church that sits on the corner of 11th and Burl over here. I don't know what that one's called, but they are surrounded by churches. So then this is the front entrance of the Valley Boys and Girls Club. So you can see ADA spots, doors right there. As shown in the application from Lewis Clark Early Childhood, they will be using the east entrance to the building. So this is the east entrance. There are two doors. I believe they're using the blue door. And then this is the parking area that they also reference in their application. So this is that east bank of parking that is just adjacent to those doors, has the ADA access. So I'm standing in the basketball courts, but this is the fenced playground area. And then as I showed you on the photo, the large field is over here. It's one of those multifamily dwellings that is adjacent on the east side. This is right behind Blessed Hope Assembly of God Church, so it's north of that property. And there's a series of them kind of in a row, so. I think it's on the right one. Okay, so then next one is this duplex. And then farther down, coming off of Airway, we have another multifamily building. And then this is across the street of Airway to the north side. So these are the single family dwellings that are along that street. Back up to our map. Maps are the most helpful when these. And up here. So currently Valley Boys and Girls Club operates at this location. They will continue to operate at this location. They offer services before school hours and after school hours. They do not offer services during school hours. Boys and Girls Club operates here under their own conditional use permit for semi-public use that was granted in 1988 by this same commission. And the clubhouse was built 1991. So for the before and after school programs, the club opens at 7 a.m. It closes at 6 p.m. The applicant is proposing to operate a preschool that would operate in, like I showed you on that east side, using a portion of the building, not the entire building. Preschool would be from 8 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. So kind of in that in-between time when they're not servicing older children. The proposed preschool will be an expansion of Lewis Clark Early Childhood's existing preschool program operations, which are at their main campus at 1816 18th Avenue, which is their Lewiston site. And then their Normal Hill site, which is at the old Lewiston High School, which is at 1114 9th Avenue. And they operate in conjunction with the Lewiston School District that also has a developmental preschool at that same location. Having this third location will provide them the ability to offer the same services to people who live in the orchards and may not be able to transport to either of those other locations. There is a bus stop, a City of Lewiston bus stop right in front of the clubhouse. And it does service both the east and the west routes. So someone could easily get on a bus, hop off right there, drop off their child to the preschool program, hop back on and be able to go back to home or work or school or whatever else that parent or responsible adult needs to do with their day. And like I mentioned, the property is a fully fenced playground and green space and has an established parking lot that does have 119 spaces, which is more than enough to be useful for both uses. As we showed in the photo, the subject property is flanked on the south, east and southwest sides by churches, is flanked by 2 apartment complexes, northeast side, and then single family dwellings to the north across Airway and to the south across Burl. As stated in the application, class size will be approximately 18 students with 4 instructors during those hours of 8 to 3:30, which is a relatively small number compared to the 641 people who are allowed to occupy that space for its occupancy load on its building permit from when it was built in 1991. So the introduction of 22 people during school hours at the subject property, I wouldn't think, and maybe the commission would think differently, I wouldn't think that would generate a whole lot of extra noise versus the number of school children that utilize the after-school programs at the Valley Boys and Girls Club. Subject property is located on Burl Ave, like I've mentioned, and which is a collector street, is half a block from 10th Street, which is one of our arterials. It is 1 block from Thane, which is also an arterial street. Our comprehensive plan does call out that moderate commercial uses should be close to arterials. So it does meet that portion. Comprehensive plan, oh, the funny thing about this property, so the comprehensive plan actually splits this property into 2. Little, right down the middle of it. So it puts it in both our neighborhood commercial and then our neighborhood residential. So from the comprehensive plan, the neighborhood commercial area is to provide low or mid-intensity commercial services, primarily for surrounding residents, like we talked about, the food service, orchards residents who can't get to the other 2 locations. More intense or larger scale businesses should be located at intersections of collector and arterial roadways. It's right in between 2. And should be of less intense density, which, like I mentioned, we're looking at 22 folks in the building rather than the 641 that are allowed by code. And these areas may also provide a transition from more intense commercial and industrial uses to less intense and smaller scale residential uses. You already have one of those uses in this neighborhood. And then, like I said, surrounded by a variety of other uses that are allowed by right in residential neighborhoods. So you have multifamily, you have churches, you have single family dwellings. You have a care center. Relevant goals and objectives that come from our comprehensive plan that apply to this particular application come from our public services, facilities, and utilities section. So PSFU number 2 is to maximize access to services by prioritizing partnerships. This is a great example of a partnership between the Lewiston Park Early Childhood Program and the Boys and Girls Club. PSFU 2.2 is to engage with the community on programs and facility improvements and utilize community groups to reach underserved communities to ensure representative input for future programs and facilities. So again, utilizing an existing space for a need that's similar in use. Other sections, land use is to evaluate our zoning code to enable compatible uses in more locations to minimize the distance between residents and those needed services. And then community character, to evaluate the land use code to ensure institutions located in or near residential neighborhoods can grow in the future while minimizing the impacts to the areas around them. Evaluate land use regulations in areas where key institutions are situated in residential areas. The institution already situated in a residential area. And involve the institutions and the public in assessing possible conflicts to ensure compatibility for future growth. And then engage and connect institutions and their neighbors to ensure institutional growth is possible while addressing neighborhood resident concerns. And with that, I would stand for questions.
Chris, do you have any questions? Okay. Me? Right. Yeah, pretty clear, pretty cut and dry, so. All right, well, if there are no questions for Katie, we will move on to applicant testimony if there is any.
John, how do I, oh, there we go. It's like, how do I stop my screen share?
You don't have to if you don't want. It's fine. It's not a requirement. Don't worry.
If you want this to be, but if they have questions for you, you do have to come up.
Yes.
Did you want to ask her?
No.
Oh, okay.
She came all the way down here from the district, but
Came to represent just in case if there were any questions.
I always encourage applicants to come just in case the commission has any questions that I am unable to answer.
Do we have any questions for the applicant?
I guess I'll ask one.
Oh, Can you-
What took you so long?
Just say your name and city of residence and go for it.
Joelle Johnston, Lewiston, Idaho.
Perfect.
Okay, it took so long because one, I wasn't the supervisor beforehand, and two, we were not required to be state licensed up until recently, so this is for state licensing.
Thank you.
I know it's.
It's a great idea.
I do know that they have been in the club for at least 5 years, if not longer. But we weren't required to be licensed and now we are, and so we are proposing it.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
If I may, so do you have a proposed student for client list already?
We do, we have a class list already. We do service low income families, income eligible, homeless. Any of those. We do even serve some over income families, but those are very limited.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you, and this is more a generic question, do you have more individuals? Do you have a wait list?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go for it, Kevin.
so, did I hear you right that this is already in operation and has been for 5 years?
Yes,
Okay. Just, thank you.
at least 5 years.
Obviously, no conflicts with the neighborhood because we
No,
would.
right, right.
They're actually very happy to have one up in the orchards as well.
Yes, I bet.
I can't
Yeah.
imagine trying to brave traffic down all the way into Normal Hill, so,
And I think having,
Especially if you don't have access to that.
yeah,
well, and I think having the wait list speaks to the demand for
That's-
such services.
that's what I meant by a client list, that's
Yes.
exceptional.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, and it's, I mean, I guess I look at it in my mind, what a perfect location.
Yeah.
Because especially for a lot of families who have littles, but then they have school age, they could drop off one stop, drop them both off. The Boys and Girls Club helps get the older ones to the school. And they can do, instead of running here and here and here and here and here and here.
That location's right in between orchards and.
Yeah.
And Centennial.
Absolutely.
Out of curiosity, if I may, so 22 children, 18 children and then the
staff.
four,
Staff.
okay, is that a ratio that's mandated by the state?
We actually have a 1-to-10 ratio.
Mhm.
So we actually have a lead teacher, an assistant teacher, and then 2 program aides that assist in the classroom. So we are kind of overstaffed for the ratio,
Mhm.
but we do it for the need of the children.
That's exceptional, okay, thank you. I'm good.
Any other questions? Perfect. All right, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, well, at this point, Dawn, did we have?
Can I point out one?
Oh, go
Thank-
on.
So I did mention it when I did the description of the request, but just to point out again, because you will need to consider this when we're going through the relevant criteria. So preschools are subject to those special conditions in 37-20.1. So that's on page 4 of my staff. report.
Oh,
The, in
number 10 on 3.
I don't know what
Page
pages.
33.
It's three, I was like, I don't know what page it is in my full packet. It's full packet for. So that's like approval of the conditional use permit from Planning and Zoning Commission, business license, compliance with state regulations, size of the site is known to be reasonable for the intended use, parking and access to the site meets applicable ordinances, and surrounding property will not otherwise be adversely affected. So just a reminder. Keep those bad boys in mind.
Those are the CUP recommendations.
Those are the special conditions listed under preschools. So it says, so in that CUP section of the code, it says preschool subject to these special conditions. And so those are the special conditions, those.
And as I heard it, they meet them all.
Yeah, I think they, yes, yeah.
Well, you have to make that finding partially,
Right, right,
Yes.
okay.
And make that part of your reasons.
your detailed reason statement.
Very detailed.
All right, Dawn, did we have them from the public? Or no emails? All right, well, with that, commissioners, I will close the public hearing. Double checking, making sure.
Wait, I have a question.
No, don't do that to me, Kevin. Don't make me reopen.
All right. Hi.
All right, so with that,
Do it.
we will go into our deliberations on relevant criteria and standards. So, number one, the proposed use will or will not result in conditions that will tend to generate nuisances such as noise, dust, glare, vibrations, and odors, or if so, any anticipated nuisances will be appropriately mitigated. And anybody can take this. We don't have to go.
Well, I'll say it will not result in the conditions that tend to generate the nuisances you described. And I'll cite that it's been there for 5 years already.
Is there any testimony that was received or not received that would support that decision?
The applicant's testimony here
About the
stated that,
existence?
and then, so on that, I guess it would reflect back to the section 37-20-1, that this is just a formality to comply with state licensing.
I would also add to Kevin's point, it is in the staff report that the building has a capacity of 691 individuals. I might be slightly off on my number, but this is only adding 22 individuals to that.
Just said it.
Well, I will add in there as somebody who lives within a couple of blocks of this and didn't even know that this was in operation. I can tell you that it is obviously not a nuisance, so.
Same.
Does anyone note the lack of testimony about the generation of any nuisances?
Yeah,
From the public or?
yeah, the fact that.
Oh, you mean that? I
No
thought that was-
opposition, yeah.
Zero opposition. I think that's the first time in a long time we've had.
Zero
nobody
testimony
opposed
again.
Something, so.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think we have a consensus that it will not result in conditions that will tend to generate nuisances.
Just for number one.
All right, so that does it for number one. Number two, the proposed use is or is not a public necessity but is or is not justified by the applicant and deemed to be a benefit to the public.
Take that one.
Go for it, Emily.
It is a public necessity for the many reasons listed under the comprehensive plan and is a benefit to the public. So we've listed areas with opportunities for growth with minimal impact, so utilizing existing properties and utilizing that for expanding access for low income and homeless or income limited families who can use those public services. PSFU 2 and 2.2.
Well, and I think having the cooperation between two organizations to utilize a property, and especially in a situation where the property is only being utilized by Boys and Girls Club
Right.
during certain hours,
Yes.
that this fits in wonderfully and provides a great need.
I think that
And also there was As she mentioned, there is a wait list. so
Yes,
it's really
yeah.
just- there's
Yeah.
Absolutely.
wait list in our area.
Yes.
I really appreciate the addition away from the two existing locations.
Absolutely.
Because that really does serve the orchards.
Well, and with the growth being
Out
in that
there, yes.
direction, having that available is fantastic.
All right, well, I think we've reached a consensus on number 2. The proposed use is a public necessity and is justified by the applicants. So number 3, the character of the proposed use, if developed according to the plan as submitted, will or will not be in harmony with the area in which it is located.
Picked a better
Oh,
spot.
Oh, sorry, I thought you waved your
I'll
hand.
say that, yeah, it does, as developed, not even if developed, according to the plan submitted, will be in harmony with the area.
I think the lack of opposition testimony speaks to that.
Well, and the fact that, I mean, from a transportation standpoint, if you look at, like Katie said, you've got the main arterial roads and things like that. Plus with it being on the bus line.
Yes,
It is, I mean, and it is, the bus line stops right in front of it. And so it is just an absolutely fantastic location to put that.
absolutely. All right, so I think we've reached just a consensus on number 3 that it will be in harmony in which it is to be located. Number 4, the proposed use will or will not endanger the environment or public health or safety. And I'll jump on this one and say it will not. It's been there for 5 years, never had any issues on the property. It's not a use that is really going to endanger the environment or public health or safety to begin with.
And there's no opposition testimony here
Yes,
today.
Well, and I
exactly.
mean, you look at how the property is developed and the fact that, you know, it already has the appropriate amount of parking. It, access for the children from the classroom to the playground is safely away from any traffic, anything along those lines. And I think the fact that you've got multifamily development on both sides of the property, it just seems to fit right in.
Mistaken, there was discussion within the packet that it will not be in service on Sunday. That's when the churches are all in, right?
Yeah.
So there is no conflict.
All right, so number 4, I think we're in agreement, the proposed use will not endanger the environment. So number 5, the proposed use will or will not be in substantial conformance with the comprehensive plan. I will easily say it will be in substantial conformance with the comprehensive plan based on what staff has presented, based on the fact that it's a partnership between different entities, based on the fact that it's serving a area of the city where the growth is. And I don't know 100%, but if it was not serving this area, I don't think they'd have any other alternative other than families would have to go out of their way to get that service. So I think that fits substantially with the comprehensive plan.
Absolutely.
Any comments about the split between the two future land use map categories?
Well,
think
I
it's-
was,
I'm sorry.
I was gonna bring that up, sorry, but cause I'm curious as to how that, especially the split being diagonal
So
on the corner of the building.
that
towards the
commercial
church.
corridor, so you're a block and a half, 2 blocks from Thane. And that
The
commercial
diagonal thing.
corridor goes on a diagonal along
Yep.
Thane.
Okay. So, but I mean, and forgive me, but as far as churches, are they not listed as commercial?
No, they're allowed by right in residential zones.
No.
Okay. All right, and then. But yeah, I mean, it's by the building.
And also it states that neighborhood commercial area provides low to mid-intensity commercial services for the surrounding residents. So this would be,
I think this is low density.
Yeah,
In my
I
opinion,
agree.
this is
Yeah,
what I would
22.
consider a low density.
Yes.
18 students, 4 teachers.
and it's serving people in that community and in those areas, right around that.
Anything else? All right. I think that does it for number 5. So the proposed use will be in substantial conformance with the comprehensive plan. Number 6, pursuant to Idaho Code 67-6512, the conditional use permit may be granted subject to the ability of political subdivisions, including school districts, to provide services for the proposed use. The applicable commentary, there was no opposition from any political subdivision or any city entity or any institution.
No, well, and it is, I mean, it is in, you know, it's part of the school district. It is, you know,
Mhm.
part of the program. So that would be directionally oppositional to the idea. But it doesn't comply with state requirements and all of that, you know, the fact that they're part of the school district.
Well, and services have been provided there for 5 years.
Yeah.
And going.
Yeah.
So,
There's no building permit gonna be applied for.
No.
yeah, exactly. All right, commissioners, well, that runs us through our deliberation of relevant criteria and standards for the reason statement. So I will go ahead and take a motion to direct staff to craft a reason statement based on the criteria discussion that we've had.
Can I make an amendment to your motion?
Sure.
With the condition that it comply with Lewiston City Code 37-20.1
I mentioned that already.
I'm sorry, I have too many dashes flying around in my head.
I would make a motion to direct staff to draft the reason statement approving CUP 25-1 as long as it meets the criteria in section 37-20-01.
And I will.
Sub 6.
Okay.
And I will second that motion. Right. All right, commissioners, it's been moved and seconded that we direct staff to craft the reason statement along with those special conditions. And again, I cannot remember that, too many dashes in my head. So with that, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None? All right, well, motion carries. All right, so that takes us through our active agenda. So number 4 on the agenda is just staff commission communication. So query of commissioners to attend our next regularly scheduled meeting on March 12th.
Currently, we don't have any public hearings scheduled. I don't know if Joel will have any other code amendment initiations ready for you guys or not. If there is no agenda items, you might see an email from us asking to cancel. The only other thing that I would probably tell the commission is that you will probably see a code amendment in the future regarding preschools. Because in doing this application, staff finds it kind of silly that schools are allowed in residential zones, but preschools are not allowed in residential zones.
Yeah.
So that might be a conversation that comes in front of you guys. That's all I got.
I likely will not be here next meeting. Hubby's birthday.
There is
I
a, by
will,
chance.
or if I know.
Yeah,
that
I should be.
I might not, I might be in Spokane for work, but I don't know, yeah. I'll let you know before I do, and I can always.
Hopefully it's just canceled.
Yeah, exactly.
Jennifer just reminded me, you will need to sign your reason statement and prove that, so. We will have a meeting.
Right,
Okay.
yes.
Sorry.
Okay.
It'll probably be a quick one though, but.
I'm the only one who has to show up just to sign it, and call it the meeting. Oh, yeah, but then we don't have a quorum,
Yeah.
so then we run into another issue, so. All right, commissioners, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
I'll make said motion.
It's been motioned and seconded. All in approval, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Yes. Thank you for your work today, commissioners. It's appreciated.
Hate to be the, but teacher, you gave me homework.
Game of cell phone.